it's a Wednesday. It's one of those July Wednesday evenings. It's a bit chilly. It's around 4:40 p.m. going towards 5 p.m. Cars are driving into our school. Now, our school was very interesting because I thought actually it was an architectural masterpiece because the school was just one long block. There was ground floor, there was second floor, there was a field on the front and a field on the back side. I used to think this is such a genius architect because he's built this in a way that the land is conserved. I never knew it was a school for poor people. And I'm seated there, and cars are driving in, tires are screeching in, and like clockwork, from Peugeot to Range Rover to Probox and so on, the parents would come out. Some of those cars had 2 arms, some of those had 4 arms. Once in a while, you'll see the mother coming out and dutifully checking the backpack to ensure, was the lunch eaten, right? And the father will come and quickly examine if the health is intact and so on. And it was normal for me because that's what I saw all my life anyway. But this evening was different because at some point, the male person who had come to pick this classmate of mine went ahead and grabbed the female person. And I'm using these words very intentionally, and embraced her and kissed her on the forehead and said, "I love you." And for me, it became very complicated because I always thought that when a man and woman come to pick my classmates, I actually thought these were older siblings picking their younger sibling. I never understood that actually I didn't have a father. I didn't know that the reason why there would come 2 of them is because one was a father and the other was a mother. This was at the backside of that annoying class 5 lesson on reproduction. So all of a sudden, you do have the capacity to understand the family structure. My stomach knotted so hard, I bit my tongue and tasted metal because I was resisting the urge to cry. After all, I'm Stan Agacho. That was a difficult evening for me because all of a sudden, it felt as if there was something wrong with me which I couldn't fix. It's interesting because a study by a Canadian Institute of Psychology actually found that boy-child who grow up without their fathers are 20 times more likely, that's 2,000%, 20 times more likely to be incarcerated. Went home, sat down, and at supper time, it was interesting, nothing new, boiled water, and I had to deceive my small sister, which was our armor. I had to deceive my small sister that you will take the ugali, I'll take the tea. And it was our story really to ensure that our small sister has the one slice of ugali we had. And I would be drinking hot water, it's burning my lips. In my mind, I am frustrated, I am disillusioned. But I have to smile because my sister needs to believe the story, that everything is okay. So the morning comes, and I used to have this reputation of the guy that walks with boxy shoulders. Not because I'm tall, broad-shouldered, handsome, deep-voiced, but it was a tactic. And the reason why I used to walk up with my shoulders tight and fixed is because if I swung my hands freely, what would happen is that the underside of my sweater will be revealed. That was screaming poverty. When we say that we are coming from a difficult background, it's difficult that is spelled with caps and sans serif, the size 38, smack in the middle. Smack in the middle of the. And the problem is, when there are these, I don't know who came up with this idea that parents need to once in a while come together, and you can have parents-teachers association, then you can have mother and son day. They had to put a father and son day. And I would sign on that paper because I didn't want it to be blank. I guessed a name, and it was the most difficult thing I had to do every first term. It felt as if somebody was pulling out teeth from my mouth without anesthesia, while all the while abusing you in mother tongue. I can tell you that my childhood was limited, but the potentials of the future, who knows? My body at that time was feeling disappointed. My body was feeling small. I am naturally a very big person. I am sick. I do stand maybe 5'9", 6". I am very imposing. I'm a very present human being. But the circumstances broke me and gave me a hunchback. I could not lift up my head. I'm naturally very eloquent, but I would shock you to tell you most of my primary school I was quiet. I was 17 years old when I first mixed concrete with my hands. And as I was mixing the concrete in my hands, at the backside of industrial area, the concrete was marred in my hands. And for some reason, this day, the concrete appeared bluish. Or was it my psychology implementing itself on my visuals? Whatever it is, it was a winning combination because in that moment, I was carried away at the day I stood fast, spine steady, shoulder tall, smiling. I'm standing at the University of Nairobi, I'm saying, finally victory. Because the story we were told is that if you can just make it to the universities, baby, you are set. We did not only make it to the university, but we made it to the University of Nairobi. It's the only university in Africa that has the article there. The rest are daughters. I am standing there and I cannot stop reading the University of Nairobi. And it looks like everybody who's going through this, confirmation bias, everybody who's going through this gate just looks like success. They smell so good. They look like their life is together. That was going to be me, baby. I am now at the University of Nairobi. 9 months down the line, the same excitement had fermented into something I could not identify anymore. Not only was I disillusioned at the harsh paradox of the promised victory and the actual reality. One such night, I was in the hostels and I was too angry. So what I decided to do, I said, let me sleep because peradventure, when I sleep, the emotions will die. Now, anger and hunger and anger, they always go together. So while I was trying to medicate my disappointment and my frustration with life, hunger had to pull a biological problem on me and I had to wake up at 1 a.m. because it seemed as if my body was digesting itself. I found myself at a place where I had to do something. And my story is like many of yours. You are at the university, but that doesn't remove you from the responsibility of an emptiness you didn't participate in. Young man in campus, but I have to fend for my family. Young man in campus, but I have to put on the shoes of my father, which I don't mind, but I didn't see the shoes so that I can put my leg. Ungenipea viatu ndo niweke place ya kujua so that I can know this is how you do this thing. Out! That's what the manager shouted at the construction site. He used to say, you will sleep out tonight. But at some point, because of the pain of your current circumstance and the disadvantage of a night that doesn't seem to end, you begin to reduce the volume. So something that was, you will sleep out tonight, you just hear, out! That was his way of saying every time you lost attention and you're no longer concentrating on the work that you should do, that was his way of kicking you out. At the same university, during the weekday, I would do mjengo. I'm doing chicken business during the weekend. And on Sunday, I bless God for Sunday. Sunday afternoon, everybody's in the mood of entertainment. I was selling movies. Anybody for movies, baby? I'm like, 50 bob, you have the latest movie. How we got it is subject to another investigation that will be done. And every night, I would come to the house tired, exhausted. My hand is scarred. My body is sore. It was not comforting. It would be comforting if I knew that this was the last day, but it was not comforting because I could not see anything I could not see any ending in mind. There was a lot of exals. How much are you doing for Mjengo? And how much are you doing for chicken business? And how much are you doing for movie business? And sometimes, by the way, and then I didn't tell you this part, I was also a tutor. So you're tutoring high schoolers, right? How are you doing for how much are you doing for tutorship? And it was all exals and all numbers. And I'm not making sense of it because I tried to fight poverty with thick skin. I tried fighting poverty with hard work. I tried fighting poverty with resilience. That night, I woke up in the morning at 4 a.m. and I said, there's something wrong here. And after writing my thoughts and writing my ideas, I slammed the book shut because now I have to go to Mjengo. Now, the arrogance of Mjengo is that they pay you money that is not enough for transport and food. You choose one. So if you're going to eat, then you are walking. The day you are using matatu, then you're not eating. It's a difficult place to be. I shut the book shut, and then I see on the very, it was this Kasuku books, on the very front page, on the very back page, I see a dot. And I'm like, wait a minute. Could it be that this is now my life? And this whole book over here is my possibilities. 3 months later, the Mjengo site is coming to a close, and I am not anxious because the Mjengo site is coming to a close, because Mjengo, you just go to the next site. There's no contract. By the way, you show up in the morning, you might be picked or not. You show up there and so on. But my anxiety was coming from a place of almost like an in-between between realities. Because at that time, while my body was saying tired, my body was saying scared, my body was saying defeated, my mind was saying, I am searching, but I'm beginning to see something. Because those 3 months, I could not get out of my mind that single dot on that book. So that evening, went back to the house. And I am using here the word house in order to give you understanding. But if I was to get into the details, let's see how this sounds. For example, I used to ask myself, why is it that our house is open, the front side, from the left to the right? Is this a style? Then why is it that our house is open, so it's rectangle, open, the front side is completely open, half. Then there is chicken mesh on it. I didn't realize that what I called a house was actually a chicken house. I'm seated there this evening. I'm looking at that dot. Then, in a moment of revelation, discovery, inspiration, frustration, hunger, I don't know where these things come from. I'm looking at this dot, and I'm like, wait a minute. There are only 2 variables here. You have income, and you have expense. That is true for the person who is at the backside of the slum. That is true for the person who is at the apex of Karen. My body at that time is saying scared. My mind at that time is saying, I'm searching, and it looks like I am beginning to find. Clarity makes us limitless. I'm now seated back, decked at the backside of a Land Cruiser V8, black as they come. I can tell you that day I did apply a generous amount of Versace Diane Blue. I can tell you, I don't want to tell you, but that day, because it was such a special day, I had to grab my 24-karat golden Japanese handcrafted watch, which I come with today also because I take you guys so seriously. And there is security all over me. And when I look at the front, I'm hearing wee, 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 and it's like all the V8s came. I now find myself in the convoy, a presidential convoy of one of the most powerful presidents in Africa. I am seated in front, and while everybody thinks I'm completely excited at the sheer idea and or even opportunity that you could ever be in such a convoy, let me tell you, for some reason, I wanted to be mature, but everything in me wanted to post on social media and say, nye, 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 boo, boo. Look at me now, baby. Look at me now. We drive into the big white house, as many state houses in Africa are. I'm seated there, I'm standing tall. Body is saying, scarred, but it was a testimony. My mind is saying, we can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. For the first time in my life, my palms were not sweaty. I was like, guys, look at my hands. So somebody says, I think there's something wrong with his head. Look at my hands. My hands are completely dry. My spine is completely straight. My clarity is at another level. We enter now. So after a while, so what usually happens is in this particular country, you enter, there's a foyer, full buffet. There's even a showering place. I don't know if they thought the locals, and so there's a place to shower. They actually give you a tour and say, if you want to shower. So we waited for 6 hours. 6 hours. On the 6th hour, a gentleman comes, whispers, then they say, okay, fine, come and proceed. I finally stand on my feet. But that day when I was standing, I didn't feel like I'm standing in State House. I felt like I'm standing on top of human struggle. I felt like I'm standing on top of every disadvantage that I ever experienced. I actually thought in my mind that, wait a minute, there's a picture here. And while I was completely overwhelmed with the excitement of possibility that was about to happen, I could tell without a shadow of a doubt that my mind was not in the moment. My mind was, which other brother of mine, which other comrade of mine in Africa is facing the exact same odds? Because my story is your story. My story is not unique. The president looks at me. He's a big man. I would have confused him for a Luo man. Sitting, he has, those folds of wealth. They're usually on the forehead and on the back side. You know them, right? Depending on the number, every one of them is 10 million. Removes his spectacles, and he speaks very passionately. And he's speaking and spit is jumping out of his mouth. I'm like, okay, fine. Maybe that's why we had to... And he leans forward and he asks, who are you? I can hear that question even today. I actually found that right there is the most important question that we need to ask. Got back to the hotel. Who are you? Remember that dot? That dot became a quadrant at some point in my life. Then that quadrant became a dashboard. That dashboard became an index. That index has now become a nation. I'm now building a community called 1 Million Nation that has the postulation that it doesn't matter your name, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter your advantage and or disadvantage. That every one of us, it doesn't matter where we are standing right now. All the possibilities of wealth creation are available to you. That day as I was seated at the hotel, it actually happened, Don, that's the same day I was paying the last loan that my mother had borrowed. And when the M-Pesa message went out that morning, you know what she said? She replied and said, this circle, it ends with us. Clarity makes us limitless. I have since moved from capital into clarity. I have since moved from sweat into systems. I've now moved from guesswork into blueprints. And I'm helping Africans to build wealth, one story at a time. We are building something I'm calling Kora. Kora is a 21-stringed instrument in Ghana, right? It's a beautiful melody, but it's also a word that means three things. Number one, revolution. Number two, it means a circle. Number three, it means a path. We are building the Google Maps of wealth creation. The idea is to locate where you are today, where you want to go, and what then are the possibilities for you. Building wealth is neither hard nor difficult. My name is Agacho, and I'm your brother.